The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with the voices of 12 different alien species. Representatives from across the galaxy sat in their special chairs, each designed for their unique body shapes. The massive dome above them showed stars and planets, reminding everyone of the vast empire they controlled together. Ambassador Zethkar stood at the center podium. His blue skin gleamed under the lights as he held up a small device. The reptilian alien's yellow eyes showed amusement as he looked around the room. "Fellow council members," he said in his hissing voice, "I have received another message from the humans." A wave of laughter rippled through the hall. The Kethmori representative, a creature that looked like a walking tree with too many arms, made a sound like wind through leaves. "Another message? What do these primitive beings want now?" Zethkar pressed a button on his device. A human voice filled the chamber, speaking in clear, simple words. "Final warning. Terran space is hereby closed to all non-human vessels. Any ship entering our territory will be considered hostile. This is not a negotiation." The laughter grew louder. High Chancellor Vexithara of the Void, touched, rose from her crystal seat. Her body looked like living glass, and when she moved, light bent around her in strange ways. "They dare to warn us?" she asked, her voice like the sound of breaking ice. "These creatures who barely crawled out of their gravity well 50 years ago?" "It gets better," Zethkar said, still grinning. "They claim the entire Sol system as their territory, all of it. They want us to stay away from their sun, their planets, even their asteroid belt." War Master Krug of the Hegemony slammed his massive fist on his chair's arm. The sound echoed through the hall like thunder. His gray skin was covered in scars from 100 battles, and his red eyes burned with anger. "Insolent worms! We conquered star systems when they were still throwing rocks at each other. Now, said Chancellor Vexithara, waving one crystal hand. "Let us not be too harsh. After all, they are still children playing with toys they do not understand." The Galactic Council had been the supreme power in this part of the galaxy for over 3,000 years. 12 species had come together after the Great Wars, dividing up territories and resources. They had rules about everything: which species could mine which asteroids, who could colonize new worlds, how much each civilization could expand. Humans had only appeared in space recently. Their first ship had been spotted near Jupiter about 50 years ago. It was a clumsy thing, held together with metal bolts and powered by nuclear explosions. The Council had watched with amusement as humans slowly built tiny bases on their moon and sent small robots to nearby planets. "Remember their first contact? Attempt?" asked Dr. Yithran of the Cerebral Collective. The being's large brain pulsed behind transparent skin as memories flowed through its mind. "They sent radio signals in all directions, hoping someone would answer." "Pathetic," muttered General Thex of the Void Touched. "We had faster-than-light travel when they were still using chemical rockets." Ambassador Zethkar nodded. "Their technology is thousands of years behind ours. They use fusion engines while we fold space itself. They build with metal and plastic while we grow our ships from living matter or crystallize them from pure energy." "What do their ships look like again?" asked someone from the back of the hall. War Master Krug stood up, his huge frame towering over the others. "I encountered one of their vessels last year near the edge of their system. A cargo hauler, they called it. Crude metal construction, primitive sensors, and engines that left a trail visible from 3 star systems away. My smallest fighter could have destroyed it without effort. They have maybe 200 ships total," added Admiral Sektoth of the Hegemony Navy. "Most of them are mining vessels or transports. They have no real warships to speak of. Their biggest vessel is smaller than our patrol boats." The council members shared more stories about human encounters. Every report was the same: slow ships, basic technology, and crews who seemed amazed by even simple alien gadgets. The humans asked lots of questions but offered little in return. They seemed eager to learn but had nothing valuable to teach. "The question," said Chancellor Vexithara, "is what to do about their impudence." The room grew quiet. This was the real business of the day. The Sol system contained valuable resources. The asteroid belt held enough rare metals to supply the galaxy for centuries. Mars could be terraformed into a garden world. Earth itself was perfect for agriculture, with rich soil and plenty of water. The decision was made last session, reminded Treasury Minister Golvan of the Trade Federation. His multiple eyes blinked in sequence as he consulted his data tablets. Sol system will be divided among the major powers. The hegemony gets mining rights to the asteroid belt. The void touched will process the gas giants. The Kethmori will manage the biological resources of Earth. And the humans? Asked someone. They will be relocated, Golvan said simply. A few colony worlds have been prepared for them. Nothing fancy, but suitable for their primitive needs. They should be grateful for our mercy. War Master Krug laughed, a sound like grinding stone. Relocated? Why bother? They cannot stop us from taking what we want. Let them hide on their little worlds while we strip their system clean. Some consideration must be given to galactic law, said Judge Mordax, of the legal collective. The ancient being's voice was dry as dust. Even primitive species have certain rights under the Accords. What rights? Krug demanded. They never signed the Accords. They are not council members. They have no legal standing in galactic affairs. True, admitted the judge. But there are protocols for dealing with developing civilizations. Protocols that allow us to claim their resources for the greater good of the galaxy, Chancellor Vexithara pointed out. Humans cannot properly use what they possess. It would be wasteful to leave such wealth in primitive hands. Ambassador Zethkar held up the message device again. Should I send them our response? What do you propose to tell them? Asked the Chancellor. Standard first contact procedure. We inform them that the Galactic Council has jurisdiction over their system. They can submit peacefully and accept relocation, or we will take the system by force. Either way, Sol belongs to the Council now. Nods and sounds of agreement came from around the hall. This was how it had always been done. When the Council wanted something, they took it. Sometimes local populations cooperated. Sometimes they resisted. The result was always the same. I do find their warning amusing, said Dr. Yithran. Terran, space is closed to all non-human vessels, as if they could actually enforce such a thing. Should we be concerned about their threat? Asked a younger representative from the outer colonies. The laughter that followed was loud enough to shake the crystal walls. War Master Krug wiped tears from his red eyes. Concerned? About humans? My youngest soldier could conquer their entire homeworld with a single battleship. Send the response, ordered Chancellor Vexithara. Give them one standard galactic cycle to comply. After that, we proceed with the annexation. And if they refuse? Asked Ambassador Zethkar. Then we show them why the Galactic Council has ruled unopposed for 3 millennia. The Chancellor replied. Ready the fleets. It is time these humans learned their place in the galaxy. As the council session ended, the representatives talked, among themselves about the upcoming operation. None of them seemed worried. Why should they be? Humans were barely more advanced than the Stone Age primitives some of them had encountered on other worlds. This would not be a war. It would be a simple harvesting operation. The great dome above them continued to show the stars, including a small yellow sun far away where humanity waited, unknowing of the storm that was coming their way. 3 massive fleets moved through space toward the small yellow star humans called Sol. Each fleet was a sight that had brought terror to countless worlds across the galaxy. Today, they moved together with one purpose, to claim the Sol system for the Galactic Council. The Hegemony fleet led the way. 2,000 ships of gray metal and sharp angles cut through the darkness. At the center flew the dreadnought Inevitable Conquest, a ship so large it had its own gravity field. Its weapons could crack moons in half. Its shields could stop the fury of a star. Admiral Corthan stood on the bridge looking at the star ahead with satisfaction. How long until we reach the edge of their system? He asked his navigation officer. 6 standard hours, Admiral, came the reply. Corthan nodded. This would be easy work. His fleet alone could conquer 100 worlds like Earth. The humans would surrender quickly once they saw what they faced. Behind the Hegemony fleet came the void-touched armada. Their ships looked like they were made of dark crystal and bent light around them in strange ways. These vessels could phase in and out of normal space, making them nearly impossible to hit. Admiral Thisara commanded from her flagship Reality's Edge. Her crystal body pulsed with energy as she communicated with her fleet through thought alone. The Kethmori war fleet brought up the rear. Their ships were not built but grown, like enormous living creatures swimming through space. Each vessel could adapt and evolve during battle, changing its weapons and defenses as needed. Bio-Admiral Growthseer commanded the fleet from inside, the living ship Prime Spore, feeling the thoughts and needs of every creature under his command. Together, the three fleets represented the combined might of the strongest powers in the galaxy. Over 6,000 ships in total, enough firepower to sterilize entire star systems. They had never faced defeat when working together. Contact from the Hegemony flagship, reported communications specialist Vex on the void-touched command ship. Put Admiral Corathan through, Admiral Thisara replied. The gray-skinned alien appeared on the crystal screen. We are approaching the outer edge of human space. Shall we proceed with standard conquest protocol? Agreed, said Bio-Admiral. Growthseer through the living communication network. Send them the demand for surrender first. Some species choose wisdom over destruction. Admiral Corathan smiled, showing sharp teeth. Opening communications with Earth now. On Earth, the message was received by the Human Defense Command. General Sarah Martinez read the alien demand with a calm expression. The message was simple and direct. Primitive world, you will submit to Galactic Council authority. Your system now belongs to us. You have one cycle to surrender unconditionally or face destruction. General Martinez touched her communication console. Send our response, she said simply. The reply went out to all three alien fleets at the same time. You were warned. Terran space is closed. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. On the Hegemony flagship, Admiral Corathan read the human response and laughed. They still believe they can make demands. How refreshing to meet a species with such spirit, even if it is misplaced. Should we demonstrate our power? Asked his weapons officer. A few shots at their outer mining stations might convince them. Not yet, Corathan replied. Let them see our fleets first. Sometimes the sight of overwhelming force is enough. The three fleets continued their approach toward Earth. As they drew closer, their sensors began picking up human activity throughout the system. Ships were moving, but not in the way the aliens expected. Sir, reported the sensor officer on the inevitable conquest, we are detecting human vessels throughout the system. They appear to be moving toward us. Admiral Corathan looked at his tactical display with amusement. Small dots representing human ships were indeed moving in their direction. How many ships do they have? Approximately 200 vessels, sir. Mostly cargo haulers and mining ships. A few appear to be patrol craft. 200 ships against 6,000, Corathan mused. Either they are incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. On the void-touched flagship, Admiral Thisara was also watching the human movement. Her crystal form glowed brighter as she processed the information. They are forming up for battle, she told her fleet commanders. How curious. Perhaps they do not understand the difference in our capabilities, suggested one of her captains. Or perhaps they have some plan we cannot see, Thisara replied. Keep sensors active. Watch for anything unusual. Bio-Admiral Growthseer felt the excitement of his living ships as they detected the approaching humans. The biological vessels could smell fear and aggression across space, but what they sensed from the human ships was strange. Not fear, but something else. Something they had never encountered before. The humans show no fear, Growthseer reported to the other admirals. My ships sense confidence from them. How can this be? Ignorance, Admiral Corathan replied. They do not yet understand what they face. They will learn soon enough. The human fleet continued its approach. From the aliens' perspective, it was a pathetic sight. Slow, clumsy ships with primitive engines, leaving bright trails behind them. The Largest human vessel was smaller than a hegemony patrol boat. Most looked like industrial equipment rather than warships. Their formation makes no sense, observed the tactical officer on the reality's edge. No clear battle lines, no logical targeting priorities. They are simply advancing in a mob. Primitive tactics, agreed Admiral Thisara. They probably learned warfare from fighting each other with chemical weapons and metal projectiles. As the fleets drew closer, the aliens could see individual human ships more clearly. They looked exactly as expected. Crude metal construction, basic sensor arrays, and engines that belonged in a museum. Some ships had external cargo pods attached. Others showed signs of hasty modifications, as if weapons had been bolted on as an afterthought. They are trying to arm their cargo vessels, laughed the weapons officer on the prime spore. Look, that mining ship has missile tubes welded to its hull. Desperation, Bio-Admiral Growthseer replied. They know they cannot win, but they will. Try anyway. There is some honor in that, even if it is pointless. Admiral Corthan opened communications to the human fleet. Human vessels, this is Admiral Corthan of the Galactic Council. You are outmatched and outgunned. Surrender now and you will be treated with mercy. Continue this attack and you will all die. The response came from a human ship at the front of their formation. A woman's voice, calm and steady. Admiral, you were warned to stay away from our space. This is your last chance to withdraw. Last chance? Corthan could not hide his amusement. Small human, look around you. You face 3 of the most powerful fleets in the galaxy. Your entire species has fewer ships than we have capital vessels. We see you clearly, Admiral, the human replied. The question is whether you see us. I see primitive ships crewed by a primitive species about to learn a harsh lesson about galactic power, Corthan said. But I admire your courage. When this is over, I will ensure your world receives a quick conquest rather than a long siege. Thank you for the offer, the human said, but we decline. The alien admiral shared communications as they watched the human ships continue their approach. 200 vessels against 6,000, primitive technology against the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. It would not even qualify as a battle. It would be target practice. Shall we end this quickly? Asked Admiral Thisara. A few precise strikes should disable their lead ships and convince the rest to surrender. Agreed, replied Bio-Admiral Growthseer. My ships are eager to feed, but this feels too much like hunting defenseless prey. Admiral Corthan checked his weapon status. All systems showed green. His fleet alone could destroy every human ship in minutes. All vessels prepare to fire. Target engines and weapon systems only. We want survivors to carry word of our victory back to Earth. But as the hegemony fleet powered up their weapons, something strange began to happen to the human ships ahead of them. The alien sensors started showing readings that made no sense. Energy signatures that did not match any known technology. Power levels that seemed impossible for vessels of that size. Sir, called out the sensor officer on the inevitable conquest, I am reading massive energy buildup from the human fleet. These numbers cannot be correct. Admiral Corthan looked at his displays. The readings were indeed strange, but he dismissed them as sensor errors. Probably interference from their primitive engines. Continue attack preparations. The human ships were now close enough for visual contact. They still looked like the same crude vessels the aliens had seen before. But something was different. Something that made even experienced alien warriors feel a strange unease. The battle was about to begin, but none of the aliens realized they were about to witness something that would change the galaxy forever. The first sign that something was wrong came from the void-touched sensors. Admiral Thisara's crystal form suddenly blazed with alarmed light as impossible readings flooded her consciousness. Energy signatures from the human vessels are off. The scale? She reported to the other fleet commanders. These readings suggest power output beyond our most advanced ships. Admiral Corthan frowned at his own displays. Sensor malfunction. Human ships cannot generate that much energy. Their entire fleet combined should not register this high. But Bio-Admiral Growthseer's living ships were telling a different story. The biological vessels could sense things that mechanical sensors missed. They felt vibrations in space itself, energies that made their organic hulls tremble with instinctive fear. "Something is very wrong," Growthseer warned. "My ship sensed danger ahead, great danger." "From humans?" Corthan laughed, but his laughter sounded forced now. "Impossible. Continue the attack." Then the human ships began to change. It started slowly. The cargo hauler at the front of the human formation seemed to ripple, like water disturbed by wind. Its hull plates shifted and moved. What the aliens had thought was crude metal construction began to unfold like a mechanical flower, opening to the sun. "What are they doing?" whispered the tactical officer on the reality's edge. The cargo hauler's outer shell fell away in sections, revealing something underneath that made no sense. Where there had been a simple transport vessel, now there was a ship of impossible elegance. Smooth curves replaced rough metal. Advanced weapon systems emerged from hidden compartments. The entire vessel transformed in seconds from primitive junk into something that belonged in an alien nightmare. "That is not possible," Admiral Corthan said, staring at his screens. "Ships cannot change their basic structure like that." But more human vessels were transforming. Mining ships shed their outer hulls to reveal sleek warships underneath. Civilian transports unfolded into configurations that hurt to look at, as if they bent space around themselves. Every human ship was changing, revealing technology that the aliens had never seen before. The crude engines that had left bright trails suddenly became something else entirely. Instead of chemical thrust, the human ships now moved by folding space itself. They did not travel through the universe. They made the universe come to them. "Impossible," Admiral Thaisara said, her crystal form flickering with shock. "Those are our techniques. How do humans know how to manipulate space-time?" Bio-Admiral Growthseer's living ships were screaming now, their biological sensors overwhelmed by what they detected. "My fleet wants to flee," he reported, his voice tight with worry. "They sense predators ahead, apex predators." "Stand firm," Admiral Corthan ordered, but his own confidence was cracking. "They are still just humans. We outnumber them 30-1. The transformed human fleet finished its metamorphosis and hung in space like a collection of impossible dreams. Every ship was different, but all of them shared the same quality. They looked like they had been built by a civilization that was thousands of years more advanced than anything in the galaxy. Captain Sarah Chen's voice came across all communication. "Channels calm and clear. Final warning, withdraw from Terran space immediately." "You think new ship designs will save you?" Admiral Corthan replied, trying to sound confident. "We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We will not be frightened by fancy paint and hull modifications." "As you wish," Captain Chen said simply. The human ships fired. Reality screamed. The weapons that emerged from the human vessels were not lasers or missiles or plasma bolts. They were something far worse. They reached out and touched the fabric of space itself, unmaking it at the quantum level. The first target was a hegemony cruiser at the edge of Corthan's formation. The human weapon hit it, and the ship simply stopped existing. Not destroyed, not vaporized, not blown apart. It was there one moment and gone the next, leaving not even debris behind. "What happened to the Iron Fist?" demanded Admiral Corthan. "Unknown, sir," his sensor officer replied in a shaking voice. "The ship just disappeared. No explosion, no wreckage. It is simply not there anymore." More human weapons fired. Each shot erased another alien vessel from existence. Hegemony shields that could stop the fury of a star offered no protection. The weapons passed through them as if they were not there. Admiral Thaisara tried to phase her ships into dimensional space, where they would be safe from normal weapons. But the human weapons followed them there too, reaching across dimensions to unmake void-touched vessels in their hiding places. "They can hit us in phase space," she reported in horror. "How is that possible? No one knows how to target phased matter." Bio-Admiral Growthseer's living ships tried to adapt, as they had evolved to do over millions of years. But the human weapons did not just destroy, they infected. The biological vessels began dying at the cellular level, Their own adaptation systems turned against them. My ships are eating themselves, Growthseer reported, his voice full of panic. The human weapons are making them evolve incorrectly. They cannot stop the process. In the space of 5 minutes, 3 of the galaxy's most powerful fleets had lost over 300 ships. The humans had fired fewer than 50 shots. Each weapon had found its target with perfect accuracy across impossible distances. Admiral Corthan stared at his tactical display in shock. Red symbols marked dead ships throughout his formation. Ships that had served for centuries, crewed by warriors who had never known defeat, simply gone. All ships, retreat to maximum range, he ordered. We need to regroup and analyze what we are facing. But retreat proved impossible. The human ships moved faster than thought, folding space to appear exactly where the fleeing aliens tried to go. They were not chasing the alien fleets, they were herding them. Sir, called out the navigation officer on the inevitable conquest, we cannot escape. Every time we try to change course, human ships appear in our path. They are predicting our movements, Admiral Thisar observed. They know what we will do before we do it. It was true. The humans displayed an understanding of alien technology that should have been impossible. They knew exactly how hegemony ships would maneuver before the pilots made their decisions. They predicted void-touched phase shifts down to the nanosecond. They countered Kethmori biological adaptations before the organisms could even begin to evolve. How do they know our tactics so well? Demanded Bio-Admiral Growthseer. Captain Chen's voice answered him, broadcast to all 3 fleets. We have been watching you for 50 years. Every ship you sent to our system, every patrol that entered our space, every time you thought you were observing primitive humans, we were learning from you. The truth hit the alien commanders like a physical blow. Every encounter they ever had with humans had been planned. Every primitive ship they had seen had been a deliberate deception. The humans had been studying them, learning their weaknesses, preparing for exactly this moment. Impossible, Admiral Corthan whispered. Your ships were primitive. We scanned them ourselves. You scanned what we wanted you to scan, Captain Chen replied. Every human vessel you encountered was designed to appear primitive while hiding our true capabilities. We learned your technologies and improved upon them while you dismissed us as harmless children. Admiral Thisara's crystal form flickered with understanding and horror. The cargo haulers, the mining ships, the simple patrol craft, all of them were advanced warships in disguise. For 50 years you thought you were watching us develop slowly, Captain Chen continued. In reality, we were advancing at a rate that would have terrified you. We took everything we learned from your visits and made it better, much better. The human fleet began to move again, not attacking, but positioning themselves around the alien formations like shepherds around flocks of sheep. The message was clear. The aliens lived now only because the humans allowed it. What do you want? Admiral Corthan asked, his voice barely controlled. We want what we have always wanted, Captain Chen replied. To be left alone. Terran space is closed. This is not a negotiation, this is a fact. As if to prove her point, the space around the Sol system suddenly filled with new contacts. Thousands upon thousands of human ships emerged from hiding places throughout the system. Not the few hundred vessels the aliens had counted, but a fleet larger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Every asteroid, every moon, every empty patch of space had concealed human vessels waiting for this moment. The true human fleet was not hundreds of ships, but hundreds of thousands. Impossible, Admiral Corthan said again, the word becoming his personal prayer against a universe that no longer made sense. You were warned, Captain Chen said simply. Now you know why. The remnants of 3 great fleets fled through space like scattered leaves before a storm. Behind them, the human ships followed with the patience of hunters who knew their prey had nowhere to run. Admiral Corthan gripped the arms of his command chair as his flagship Inevitable Conquest ran at maximum speed toward the edge of the system. Around him, what remained of the hegemony fleet tried desperately to escape. Of his original 2,000 ships, fewer than 400 survived. Engine status, he barked. Running at 110%, sir, his engineer replied. We cannot maintain this speed much longer without damaging the drives. Then we damaged the drives, Corthan said grimly. Better broken engines than no ship at all. But escape was proving impossible. Every time a group of hegemony ships tried to break away from the main formation, human vessels appeared in their path. The aliens would change course, only to find more human ships waiting exactly where they tried to go. How are they doing this? Demanded the navigation officer. They are anticipating every course change before we make it. On the bridge of the void-touched flagship Reality's Edge, Admiral Thisara was asking herself the same question. Her crystal form pulsed with frustrated energy as she tried to understand what was happening. Phase into dimensional space, she ordered her remaining ships. If we cannot outrun them in normal space, we will escape through the void. The surviving void-touched vessels began to shift out of normal reality, their crystal hulls becoming transparent as they moved into the spaces between dimensions. For a moment, Admiral Thisara felt hope. In dimensional space, they should be safe from pursuit. Then human ships appeared around them in the void itself. Impossible, Thisara whispered. No one else knows how to enter dimensional space. We discovered this technology ourselves. The human ships in the void were different from the ones in normal space. They seemed to be made of crystallized light, perfectly adapted to exist in the realm between realities. They moved through dimensional space like they had been born there. They have mastered our most secret technology, reported one of her captains. How is this possible? Admiral Thisara realized the truth with growing horror. They have been watching us longer than we thought. Every time we used dimensional phase near their system, they were learning. They reverse-engineered our most advanced techniques. Meanwhile, Bio-Admiral Growthseer faced his own nightmare. His living ships were in full panic, their biological instincts screaming warnings that made no sense. The creatures that served, as his vessels had evolved over millions of years to adapt to any threat. But they could not adapt to weapons that turned their own evolution against them. The human weapons are viral, he reported to the other admirals through their emergency communication link. They infect our ships with corrupted evolutionary data. My vessels are trying to adapt, but each adaptation makes them weaker. One of his bioships, the cruiser Living Spear, had grown new armor plating to protect itself from human weapons. But the armor was wrong somehow, growing inward instead of outward, slowly crushing the creature's vital organs. The ship was killing itself, trying to defend itself. Cut the infected vessels loose, yo, Growthseer ordered with a heavy heart. Do not let them spread the corruption to the rest of the fleet. But even this desperate measure failed. The human weapons seemed to understand Kethmori biology better than the Kethmori themselves. Every defensive adaptation the bioships tried was countered before it could take effect. Captain Sarah Chen opened communication channels to all three fleeing fleets. Her voice was calm, professional, and utterly terrifying in its certainty. You cannot escape, she said simply. We know your technologies better than you do. We have had 50 years to study every ship, every weapon, every defensive system you possess. More importantly, we have improved upon all of them. Admiral Corthan's pride finally cracked. What do you want from us? Terms of surrender? Tribute? Name your price for letting us leave. We want nothing from you, Captain Chen replied. We never did. All we ever wanted was to be left alone in our own system. You could have had the entire rest of the galaxy, and we would never have bothered. You? Then let us go, Admiral Thisara pleaded. We will return to the Council. We will report that Sol System is off limits. This never has to happen again. Some of you will be allowed to leave, Captain Chen said. You will carry a message back to your Galactic Council. But first you need to understand exactly what you tried to do here today. The human fleet began to demonstrate their true capabilities. Ships that had seemed advanced before revealed even more impossible technologies. Vessels that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Weapons that could target specific atoms across star system distances. Defensive systems that made attacks simply not happen rather than blocking them. This is our home system, Captain Chen continued. We have spent 50 years preparing to defend it. Every human ship you see was built with one purpose: to make sure that anyone who threatens Earth understands the cost of that threat. A new group of human ships appeared near the fleeing aliens. These vessels were larger than anything seen before. Massive constructs that bent space around them simply by existing. Their presence made reality ripple like water. "Those are not ships," Admiral Thisara whispered in horror. "Those are mobile planets." "Defensive platforms," Captain Chen corrected. "We have hundreds of them hidden throughout the outer system. Each one carries enough firepower to sterilize continents." The platforms did not fire, but their targeting systems locked onto every alien vessel simultaneously. The message was clear. The fleeing aliens lived only because humanity chose to let them live. Bioadmiral Growthseer found his voice. "How did you advance so quickly? 50 years is nothing in galactic terms. Civilizations take millennia to develop such technologies." "We had teachers," Captain Chen replied. "Every alien ship that visited our system taught us something new. Every scan you took of our primitive vessels gave us information about your own technology. We learned from the best, you." The truth was like a knife to alien pride. Their own arrogance had been their downfall. By dismissing humans as primitive, they had given away all their secrets. Every condescending examination of human ships had revealed alien weaknesses. Every demonstration of superior technology had been analyzed and improved upon. "We took your fusion drives and made them into space-folding engines," Captain Chen continued. "We studied your energy shields and built reality barriers. You showed us how to manipulate matter at the quantum level, and we learned to manipulate existence itself." Admiral Corathan checked his tactical display one final time. His fleet was completely surrounded by human ships that outnumbered them, 1,000 to 1. But it was not the numbers that made him despair. It was the obvious superiority of every human vessel. Each one was a work of art that happened to be the most advanced weapon in the galaxy. "You could have conquered us easily, 50 years ago," he said quietly. "Why did you wait? Why the deception?" "Because we hoped you would leave us alone," Captain Chen answered. "We never wanted to fight you. We just wanted to be left in peace to develop in our own way. But you forced this confrontation by deciding to steal our home." The human fleet began to move again, not attacking but herding the alien survivors toward the edge of the system. It was like watching sheepdogs work, if the dogs were godlike beings, and the sheep were the former masters of the galaxy. "Some of you will be allowed to return to the Council," Captain Chen announced. "You will tell them what you have seen here today. You will explain that Earth is off limits, and that any future attempts to enter our space will result in consequences far worse than what you have experienced." "What about the rest of us?" Admiral Thisara asked. "The rest of you will remain here as our guests until we are certain the message has been received and understood," Captain Chen replied. "Consider it insurance that your council takes our warning seriously." As the selected alien ships were escorted to the system's edge, the captured vessels were led to holding areas near Jupiter. The human ships moved with perfect coordination, every action planned and executed flawlessly. The age of alien dominance in the galaxy was ending, and the aliens themselves were being forced to carry the news of their own obsolescence back to the stars. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been going on for 3 days without rest. In the Great Dome Chamber, representatives from 12 species sat in stunned silence as they reviewed the reports from Sol System. The footage was impossible to believe, but it had come from multiple sources. There was no denying what had happened. Chancellor Vexithara stood at the center podium, her crystal form dim with shock. Before her floated holographic displays showing the destruction of 3 major fleets. Ships that had ruled the galaxy for centuries, simply erased from existence by human weapons that defied understanding. "The preliminary reports are confirmed," she announced to the chamber. "Of the 6,000 ships we sent to Sol System, fewer than 200 escaped. The rest are either destroyed or captured." A sound like breaking glass echoed through the hall as several void-touched representatives expressed their grief. The hegemony delegation sat in stone silence, their gray faces showing no emotion. The Keith Mori representatives swayed like trees in a storm, their multiple arms trembling with distress. "How is this possible?" demanded Trade Minister Golvan. "Humans were primitive. We observed them for 50 years. Their technology was centuries behind ours. Apparently we observed what they wanted us to observe, Chancellor Vexithara replied bitterly. Every human ship we ever encountered was designed to appear primitive, while hiding advanced technology beyond our imagination. Ambassador Zethkar stood up slowly, his blue skin pale with shock. The reports say their weapons can unmake matter, at the quantum level, that they can travel faster than light without using hyperspace, that they have fleets hidden throughout their system, numbering in the hundreds of thousands. The reports also say they knew about us for 50 years, added Judge Mordax, that they were learning from us every time we visited their system. We gave them all our secrets without realizing it. The chamber erupted in angry voices as the representatives tried to process this information. How could the Council, which had dominated the galaxy for 3,000 years, be defeated so completely by a species they had dismissed as children? Dr. Yithran of the Cerebral Collective raised one tentacle for attention. I have analyzed the tactical data from the battle. The humans did not simply defeat our fleets, they toyed with them. They could have destroyed every ship instantly but chose to let some escape. Why would they do that? Asked someone from the back. To send a message, the Chancellor replied. They wanted survivors to return and tell us what they had seen. General Thex of the Void. Touched military stood up, his crystal form flickering with rage. Then we should send everything we have. Every ship, every weapon, every ally. We cannot let this insult stand. With what? War Master Krug demanded, his massive frame shaking with fury. They destroyed our best fleets like they were nothing. They have technology we cannot understand, let alone counter. We have other allies, General Thex insisted. The Outer Rim Kingdoms, the Deep Space Confederations. Together we could assemble a force 10 times larger than what we sent. And lose 10 times as many ships? Chancellor Vexithara said quietly. Did you not listen to the reports? The humans were not even trying. This was not their full strength. Bioadmiral Growthseer had survived the battle and been allowed to return. He spoke now from his place in the delegation, his voice filled with a fear that infected everyone who heard it. My ships have evolved over millions of years to adapt to any threat. But the human weapons turned evolution itself against us. They understand biology better than we do, and we created our species. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. If the humans understood alien biology better than the aliens themselves, what else did they know? What other secrets had they learned during 50 years of careful observation? There is more, Chancellor Vexithara said, activating another holographic display. We have received a new transmission from Earth. A human appeared in the center of the chamber. It was a woman in simple clothes, standing in what looked like a normal office. But her calm confidence made every alien in the room feel small and primitive. I am Director Sarah Walsh of the Human Defense Initiative, the woman said. By now, your surviving ships have reported what happened in our system. Consider this your formal notification that the situation has changed. She gestured, and the display showed a map of local space with Sol system highlighted in red. Terran space is closed to all non-human vessels. Any ship approaching our territory will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. But this is not just about our system, Director Walsh continued. The age of your expansion is over. You will not be claiming any more worlds, any more systems, any more resources from species unable to defend themselves. The alien representatives looked at each other in growing horror. Was the human threatening the entire galactic order? We know about the colony worlds you have strip-mined, Walsh said. We know about the species you have relocated or eliminated. We know about the resources you have stolen and the civilizations you have destroyed. This ends now. You are confined to the territories you currently control, she continued. Any attempt to expand beyond your present borders will bring you into contact with us. And you have seen what happens when you contact us. General Thex stood up, his crystal form blazing with anger. You cannot dictate terms to the entire galaxy. We have ruled here for 3,000 years. Director Walsh looked directly at him through the hologram, as if she could see him. You ruled because no one could stop you. Now someone can. The galaxy is under new management. The transmission continued with specific details that made the alien representatives sick with fear. Humans had been watching the galaxy far longer than anyone realized. They knew the location of every military base, every resource depot, every major population center. They had detailed maps of alien territories that were more accurate than the aliens' own charts. "We do not wish to conquer you," Director Walsh said. "We have no interest in ruling the galaxy, but we will not allow you to continue your expansion at the expense of weaker species. You will learn to coexist peacefully, or you will learn why Earth is off limits." When the transmission ended, the council chamber remained silent for a long time. Finally, Treasury Minister Golvan spoke in a shaking voice. "What do we do now?" "We adapt," Chancellor Vexthera said quietly. "We learn to live within the boundaries they have set for us. And if we refuse," demanded War Master Krug. "Then we die," she replied simply. "The humans have shown us mercy by allowing survivors to return. They could have destroyed our fleets completely and moved on to our homeworlds. Instead, they gave us a choice: accept the new reality or face extinction." Over the following days, the reality of the situation settled over the galaxy like a heavy blanket. Trade routes that had operated for centuries were suddenly off limits if they passed too close to human space. Exploration fleets reported massive sensor shadows at the edges of human territory, ships so large they registered as minor planets. Military commanders across the galaxy began receiving reports that made no sense. Their own ships were being scanned by invisible sensors. Patrol routes that had been secret for generations were somehow known to human observers. The aliens began to realize that they were being watched constantly by an intelligence that understood them better than they understood themselves. Some species tried to test the human boundaries. A small hegemony patrol entered what had once been considered neutral space but was now claimed by Earth. The ships simply vanished. No distress calls, no wreckage, no trace that they had ever existed. The message was clear. The humans were not bluffing. Within a month, the galactic trade networks had reorganized themselves around the new reality. Maps were redrawn to show human space as a forbidden zone. Military planners began working with territories that were suddenly smaller than they had been in 3,000 years. The age of unchallenged alien expansion was over. The galaxy's former masters now lived as tenants in space they had once owned, existing only because Earth permitted it. In the final entry of the Galactic Council's emergency records, Chancellor Vexithara wrote, "Recommendation: avoid all contact with Terran space. Classification: Apex Predator Territory. Status: do not disturb under any circumstances." The galaxy had learned a hard lesson about the dangers of underestimating primitive species. And in the Sol system, humanity continued their quiet development, secure in the knowledge that they would never again be threatened by those who sought to steal their home. The final warning from Earth had been delivered, received, and understood. The galaxy would never be the same.